Yeah, we're still discussing, but you do not need to bundle the 2 bags.
Okay, sounds good. Do you have KU right now?
We do.
You do a closeout survey, so the upper 2 wire ties you see.
Okay, copy. We see that.
Everything down to number 11 looks good to me. I'm going to work on 12 a little bit more. All right, Wheels, this looks all nice and tidy to me.
Nice work, Alex, and we've got good WVS too. Thank you very much. You have to go to make your way up to the zenith near Reid, and once you're there, I'll give you guys some big picture words and get your thoughts on how to proceed.
That's good, Wheels. Alex, I got this side of the bag complete, but you'll need to, there's one lid strap that you'll need to do, and I think it'll be good enough. And I still have the MTRA bag over here. Copy. Nice job on that bag. Now we'll see. So it should be, there should be a tether that's just on a loop right there. Yep, perfect. Got it. Should be closed. I'm ready to talk.
Okay, guys, you in position together there at the top of the MT?
That's correct, Wheels.
Okay, here's what we're looking at, guys. First of all, tremendous work. Tremendous work. You guys did an excellent job, and especially the parts where I had to work together. I know there's some tough connections there, so we're looking really, really good. We are at the 5 hour and 41 minute point of the EVA, and so well done. What we wanted to get from you is how you're feeling. What we're thinking is heading back to the airlock, and we're thinking of sending you to get the 2 bags that were left out in an earlier EVA, the GTEC bags from the zenith part of the airlock, and the Node 3 bag, which happens to be on Node 1, kind of aft of the Z1. How copy?
We copy that, Wheels, and I think we're good with that. If I gave you an honest assessment, I'd say I feel exactly like I would at the 5.5 hour mark in the MBL. My fingers are definitely tired, but I feel good. So I think that's a pretty good plan. And Alex, over to you to discuss. Hey, no problem at all.
Okay, that sounds great, guys. Alex, we'll go ahead and have you grab the cable bag yes, and have you, Reid, go ahead and grab the MTRA bag and get those on your BRT. And before we depart, we're going to do a glove and hap check, and we're going to also just check the work site and make sure we're taking everything in with us.
Sounds good, Wheels. And work. Hey, Reid, if you don't mind, would you release your side of the cable bag? I am tethered to it. Yes, that is absolutely a fair question. Give me just a minute and I'll do that. I didn't get that one done yet. Did you hand it back or do that one? Say again, I didn't. This tether, I used the bag, started going over to you before I got it complete. Oh, I see. Does that work? Yeah, I'm not going to make it pretty. It's done. It's looped down on itself. You good with that? I am good with that.
And this is Mission Control, 5 hours, 45 minutes through the spacewalk. As you heard the crew reporting, they're feeling good, and with a little bit of extra time on the timeline, are going to do some get-ahead tasks here, basically just grabbing some equipment bags currently stowed on the outer portion of the International Space Station, relocating them to a much easier and more accessible location. It should only take about 15 minutes or so is the scheduled time, and then they'll be right on track to begin cleanup and ingress back into the Quest airlock to bring an end to today's spacewalk. But again, all major tasks completed successfully, starting off with that retrieval of the failed pump module and relocating it from the POA over to the external stowage platform 2. Following that success, Alexander Gerst moved up to replace a failed light on the camera port 13.
Okay, looks like you guys
then both he and Reid Wiseman successfully installing that relay assembly box on the mobile transporter, doing all the extensive cable routing.
If you do got a dry house and gloves, no delta. same for 1.
Okay, guys, as you depart the MT there, just take a look around, make sure you're taking everything with you, and there's nothing hanging in the MT translation path, and you have a go to make your way back to the airlock. What we're going to do is stow these 2 bags outside of the airlock, and then, Reid, we're going to send you up zenith around the airlock, or actually up onto Node 1 aft of the Z1 truss to retrieve the Node 3 cable bag that's there.
Okay, I will probably need a good description again when we get closer to the path.
Roger that. Roger that. For now, make your way back to the airlock, and we're going to attempt to stow both of those bags on the outside of the airlock.
Copy that, Wheels. You should get a WVS survey overview of the whole cable. Let me know if you have it in view or you need a rotation.
Those are both good views for us. Thank you, guys.
Looks all pretty clean to me. Did you have a last look on top of the MT, right? I looked at the MT area box before I left. Is that what you're talking about? Yeah, and the work site where we had the cable bag. Yep, it looked as clean as I could tell anyway. Yep. Good with me.
So again, the 2 spacewalkers finishing up at the mobile transporter. Reid Wiseman is tapped to go and retrieve the Node 3 avionics bag, one of the get-ahead tasks for today. He's going to be moving to the aft part of the airlock and eventually translating over to Node 1. Once there, he'll verify that the Node 3 avionics bag is closed, and then retrieve it, translate back over to the airlock, and transfer the bag inside for temporary stowage. Again, this task being done to just make it more accessible, get ahead time for future EVAs.
And Reid and Alex, we've decided we're not going to go after those extra bags, so just take your time going back, nice and easy, back to the airlock, and we'll be finishing up once you get back there. So, so let's finish well.
Sounds good, Wheels.
And it looks like the EVA teams had a quick change of heart. Looks like the 2 spacewalkers, Reid Wiseman and Alexander Gerst, are going to make their way back towards the airlock now and probably begin ingressing and wrapping up for the day.
What's that, Reid, when you come over the feeder spur? Yep, your tether's getting a little bit close to my twist, so I'll dive out of the way. Okay. I'll just hold here. Not a bad place to stop anyways. Not as the sun's setting, that's for sure. And I'm clear. Okay, copy that. I'm coming down the feeder. You want me to go aft or forward? You should probably end up forward so that our tethers are not deconflicted, but honestly, it doesn't matter at this point. If you just want to go start putting that bag in, and then maybe you can even just go in the airlock. All right. Let me look around a little bit here on my tether. Needs to be fit in. And I will hang here at the toolboxes until you tell me that I can come down there.
Okay, guys, nice work in the translation. And Alex, when you're ready, you can open the thermal cover and put your bag inside, and you have a go for ingress.
Copy that. I'm still working a little bit on the tether here. Didn't want to feed all the way back in. That last meter, I think it's half a fathom that's missing. Yeah, I think that is about a half a fathom, it looks like. See if you can lock, unlock. Does that work or not? Nice trick. It worked. Yeah, somebody taught me that about 4.5 hours ago. I got plenty.
We see the bag inside there, Alex. Nice work. And then when you're able, you can attach your right waist tether to the airlock D-ring extender.
Yep, I'll put that in work. Me too. Hey, Reid? Yes, sir. How close are you? I'm coming down unless you don't want me to. Can you relieve my waist tether from the airlock D-ring? Yeah. Sorry, from the airlock. I see it. Just give me 1 minute to get my own tether down, and I will release yours. Meanwhile, the MTRA cable bag is connected to the forward airlock handrail that's just above the hatch.
Copy that,
Alex.
Alex.
Your waist tether if you want it. Thank you. Okay, my waist tether is on the airlock D-ring extender. Big hook is closed, black on black. The small hook goes to my boot right D-ring extender. Small hook is closed, black on black.
Okay, copy that, Alex. You have a go to ingress then, and just kind of keep an eye on tend the bags and understand that you have to get to the MPEV and also the your SCU. So just as you ingress.
Yeah. ED2 as ingress. I got a good access to UIA, SCU, and most of the bags, I would say.
Okay, awesome. Nice work.
Do you have good access to throw a tether on that one? It's still on my BRT, Alex. Let me see which tether that would be. I got one here. That's good. Okay, give me a second. Absolutely, all the time in the world. And that tether is on there, and that's the forward UIA handrail. Okay, so I'm going to release my BRT ret if you're ready. You'll go. Okay. BRT ret is off.
So at this point, Alexander Gerst already back inside of the Quest airlock.
And here comes the bag to you.
Reid Wiseman passing down the last few bags as he waits just outside.
Got himself.
Currently getting closer to 6 hours right now, 55 hours, 57 minutes elapsed time since the spacewalk kicked off at 7:30 this morning.
Push it all towards the port, towards the hatch, and this looks all clear to me for your ingress. Okay, so the next step, you have a good tether path, right? So I am going to release your safety tether at this time? That is correct. Okay. Okay, I'm going to unlock yours. And I think for procedure, I want yours on my right D-ring extender. I think that's right. Okay, Alex, I have your safety tether, big hook, on my right D-ring extender. It is bell closed, black on black. And then it's coming up to you. Sounds good? If you could just confirm the rest of that chain so that I know I will. That would be cool. So that safety tether that's coming up from the hatch comes to my right D-ring extender. The small hook is closed and black on black. From there, the load path continues to another small hook closed black on black towards my waist tether, and that's hooked in the airlock D-ring extender, closed black on black. Okay, so we're on the D-ring extender. Wheels, do I have a go to release my safety tether, EV-1 safety tether?
We hear the daisy chain is good, and you have a go to release your safety tether, Reid.
Okay, my safety tether is off.
And you have a go for ingress as well, Reid.
Copy that, Wheels. I'm going to squeeze forward. And just bear with me. I'll try and grab your feet. Okay. And try and get those bags out of the way. All right, are you about ready? I'm about ready. Ready to get. I hear you there. That looks good. So, thermal cover. Yeah, I got to turn around and get that thing. Let me see if the tap it and it'll come back to you works. Now, are my feet oriented in the right direction? Yeah, I guess they're in the clear, and I'm ready to grab them as soon as you want to come in. And where's my right foot right now? That's the DCM cover. Put it a little bit to the left. Yep, perfect. You cleared that. Okay. Thermal cover is closed. And let me get the little Velcro strap here. The Velcro strap is completed.
Copy that, Reid.
Now the goal will be to not accidentally open that back up.
Copy that. And when you're in
Okay, Wheels, I think next step is the hatch.
Actually, not yet. The next step
Nope, SCUs.
is to remove the SCU from the stowage pouch. Remove your Velcro DCM cover and connect the SCU. Verify that it's locked.
EDT SCU connected.
Thank you, Alex.
EV1 SCU connected.
Okay. Copy that both are connected and just verify the SCU handle is locked.
Locked on 1, locked on 2.
Beautiful. Okay. Take water switch to off. Water switch off. You'll get it. Water is off. H2O is off message.
EV1 complete. EV2 water off.
Okay, we have a 2-minute hold here. The caution is do not close the hatch until EMU water is off for 2 minutes. Reid, you can verify that the outer hatch is clear of any hardware on the sealing surface. Just kind of take a look. Make sure you don't have any tethers hanging down there or anything, or tools.
At this point, I can't tell you in 2 minutes, Wheels, but at this point, it looks very clear.
Okay, copy that. And it just so happens to be in 2 minutes we'll have a short handover. So I'll call the handover coming, and then we'll meet you on the other side for the next step. Okay?
That sounds great, Wheels.
Six hours, 4 minutes in today's spacewalk. Both crew members now back inside of the Quest airlock. Soon they'll be closing the hatch and beginning the repressurization of Quest, which will signal the end of today's spacewalk.
Great. 20 seconds to a short dropout, and we'll pick you up on the other side.
Sounds good, Wheels. Hey, Reid, how does the access to the hatch look like? Do you think you got enough space? Yeah, right now it looks pretty good. All right, I won't move then. Yeah, don't just stay right there, and we'll see how it goes.
Okay, guys, we're back with you on the other side. How do you hear?
Got you loud and clear, Wheels. You too.
Okay, copy. Our 2 minutes has elapsed, and so we're ready to close the hatch. So, Reid, you can verify that the outer hatch is clear of any hardware on the sealing surface. Just kind of take a look. Make sure you don't have any tethers hanging down there or tools. Reid, to verify the outer hatch is clear of hardware. Verify the handle position per the per hatch decal.
That's correct. I backed it off, and it does look clear, although I will watch it as the hatch comes down.
Copy that. You have a go to close and lock the hatch.
That's in work, Wheels.
So again, Gerst and Wiseman inside the hatch, inside the airlock, getting ready to close the hatch. Shortly after, we'll get the call to repress. And once that happens, the clock will stop on this spacewalk for today. Currently sitting at 6 hours, 7 minutes, and 35 seconds.
To double check that the hatchway looks clear, it does. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and engage the hatch.
Copy.
Okay, the hatch is closed and in the locked position.
Excellent. Nice job, Reid. Alex, on the UIA, verify or check the oxygen EMU 1 and 2. Two valves are open.
Verified.
Alex, on the UIA, switch power EV1, EV2, two switches to on.
Power EV1 is on. Power EV2 is on. Voltage.
Copy. Verify power EV1, 2, EMU LEDs are on. I think you
Verified.
just... Okay, copy that, Alex. Okay, verify the power EV1, EV2 volts are reading somewhere between 18 and 19 volts.
Good voltage, 18.5. Both.
Perfect, thank you. For both of you, switch power on your DCM, switch power to SCU. Expect a warning tone.
EV1 power SCU, good power restart invite. EV2.
Okay, nice work, guys. This is the point where I'll pass you over to Butch inside. Really nice work today. Just great job on the tasks.
Hey, thanks, Wheels. And if we could just take a quick second, we know that there were hundreds, if not thousands, of folks on the EVA recovery team, from the engineers up in Connecticut to the systems folks down in Johnson. And Alex and I would like to express just our huge gratitude for getting us back into planned EVAs, safely outside, safely back in on a great EVA. It's a good day for NASA. It's definitely a good day for the European Space Agency. And with that, I want to hand it off to one of my best friends, Alex Gerst. Yeah, we want to say thanks to all the training teams, both at NASA and ESA, for all the hard work in the NBL that got us to this point. So thanks also for all the support teams at all the centers that support us. And, natürlich auch noch auf Deutsch. Vielen Dank für die tolle Unterstützung zu Hause, speziell ans Deutsche Zentrum für Luft- und Raumfahrt und für alle weltraumbegeisterten Menschen in Deutschland. All the best. And with that, Butch, over to you. Bring us home.
All right, guys, here we go. The warning says, if on SOP, leave O2 actuator and EVA through the crew lock depress. You can confirm that that's not the case.
Not the case for one. Not the case for two.
Okay, first step, O2 actuator to press.
And Alex, if you're there, you can report. It's going to be a minute for me. Yeah. O2 in press for ED2. Let me know if
So a short comm handover, waiting for that repress, signaling the end of the EVA.
Outstanding. Okay, if hardline comm available, switch comm mode to hardline.
EV
And so getting confirmation that crew lock repress has initiated. Total elapsed time for this EVA, 6 hours, 13 minutes. Repress coming at 1:43 p.m. Central Time.
Houston, the time in step 4 is 18:43.
And so now Wiseman and Gerst will wait inside of the crew lock until that pressurization is completed, bringing it back up to the 14.7 psi normalized pressure of the rest of the station. At which point, Bush Wilmore will open up the hatch between the crew lock and the equipment lock, bring them inside, and they can start doffing their spacesuits, bringing a successful end to today's spacewalk. Again, that repress starting at 1:43 p.m. Central Time. Total elapsed time for this spacewalk, 6 hours, 13 minutes. Has touched on repeatedly throughout the day. Very successful, very efficiently done. So again, the total elapsed time for the spacewalk, US EVA-27 today, 6 hours, 13 minutes. as this was the first spacewalk for both Reid Wiseman and Alexander Gerst. They both have lifetime values of 6 hours and 13 minutes. Reid Wiseman will be making one more spacewalk next week. This was the first of 3 planned EVAs for Expedition 41. Next Wednesday on October 15th, Wiseman will suit up again alongside NASA astronaut Butch Wilmore for the second U.S. EVA of the month. And then later on the 22nd, Russian cosmonauts Max Sarayev and Alexander Semakutyaev will stage out of the Russian Pirs docking compartment for a Russian spacewalk. Today, though, brings us to 182 spacewalks in support of station construction and maintenance. Total elapsed time now 1,142 hours and 15 minutes. That adding up to just about 47.5 days spent spacewalking in order to maintain and build this orbiting laboratory. So again, all of the tasks done successfully today. The major task starting off after the successful depress and the switching to battery power at 7:30 a.m. this morning. The 2 astronauts heading outside to set up. They had to bring a number of bags with them, 4 in total. Gerst moved the 2 for the mobile transporter relay assembly over to their initial stow position on a SETA cart before heading out to the space station's robotic arm. Meanwhile, Reid Wiseman, immediately after egress, headed down to the external stowage platform number 2, where they spent a considerable deal of their time today, getting the MLI tent set up and ready before translating back over, grabbing those MTRA bags that Gerst had initially stowed, moving them up to their permanent stowage point where they would be used later on in the spacewalk, then grabbing Gerst's safety tether and moving it back over to ESP-2 with him. Meanwhile, Gerst was setting up and strapping into the space station's robotic arm, setting up the articulating portable foot restraint. He was then flown by Expedition 41 crew member Butch Wilmore, who was working from inside the Destiny laboratory at the robotics workstation, up into the POA, where the failed pump module has been stored since it was taken out and replaced last December of 2013 during 2 EVAs by NASA astronauts Rick Mastracchio and Mike Hopkins. Once he arrived, Gerst was able to detach the failed pump module from that payload ORU accommodation unit, back away on the robotic arm, rotate it 180 degrees, and then took a ride across underneath the International Space Station on the end of that robotic arm, again being flown by Wilmore. Once he was flown over to ESP-2, he and Wiseman worked quickly to install it, getting it aligned on the rails and driving it in. About halfway through, Wiseman removed the adjustable grapple bar, which had held the pump module in place these last several months, temporarily stowing it before finishing the install on this pump module. Once it was in, they were able to drive the 4 bolts to hold it securely in place. Wiseman then stowing the adjustable grapple bar into a more permanent fixture. Meanwhile, Alexander Gerst was flown up to the starboard side of Destiny in order to replace a failed light on camera port 13. This is one of the primary lights for visiting vehicles and robotics ops. One of the 2 bulbs inside the light had failed, so he was able to pop in a spare light and remove the failed one, stowing it back inside the airlock. Meanwhile, Reid Wiseman finished up the pump module cleanup task before moving up to the mobile transporter to get ready to install the relay assembly. This was the last major task for them to complete. Once the relay box was installed, he began the meticulous task of routing 4 cables. He routed 2 down the port side. Gerst eventually caught up and got the other 2 down the starboard side. Then the 2 worked in tandem to complete all of the wire tie downs to manage the cables appropriately, get them connected in, and the robotics controller is now able to power that up and start doing some initial checkouts. The 2 finished up about 15 minutes or so ahead of schedule, and on the way back in, we're discussing potentially doing some get-aheads, but the EVA teams down here deciding they've done more than enough work for the day, giving them the go-ahead to head back inside of the Quest airlock, where they sit now waiting for the repress to complete. Once that's done, they'll be able to move back inside, assisted by Butch Wilmore, get out of their spacesuits, and wrap up a very successful day. We'll continue to stay on the air until we see them make it through that airlock door, get their helmets off, and take one last look at these two successful spacewalkers wrapping up their first foray out into the vacuum of space, Reid Wiseman and Alexander Gerst. So getting confirmation the repress is passed. 5 psi, the crew doing a leak check successfully. The mobile transport relay assembly has been successfully checked out by robotics ground controllers. Checkout of the replacement light on camera port 13 will occur tomorrow. So for now, the crew still inside of the crew lock, continuing to wait for the atmosphere to be repressurized to that nominal 14.7 psi.
And Butch, we concur, and you can proceed, and they should be very happy with that.
Copy. Here we go.
So again, getting the call, the crew lock repressurized. Life support officer confirming. So the next major step will be to open up the hatch between the crew lock and the equipment lock, begin bringing the crew back inside so they can start to remove their EMUs that they've been wearing for the past several hours.
МКС, тупо Москвы, ВСГ-2 для Максима.
So again, we're continuing to stand by for just a couple of minutes. Again, the crew repress done successfully. The hatch should be opening any time now. Stand by to hear or see the crew back inside. And that will go ahead and wrap up our coverage for the EVA today. But again, everything going by the book, done successfully. The crew actually finishing a little bit ahead of schedule. Total elapsed time 6 hours, 13 minutes.
back to normal audio config, so we'll be back on Space to Ground 2 for all our operations. If you could give us a quick status as to where you're on the procedure, we'd appreciate that.
And again, this is Mission Control Houston continuing to stand by, waiting for some confirmation the crew is out of their suits. Butch Wilmore inside of the crew lock, responsible for opening up the hatch and helping these two get out of their EMUs once they're back inside. Again, Reid Wiseman, Alexander Gerst, both completing their first spacewalks of their astronaut careers. Totaling time 6 hours and 13 minutes. Completing every single task on the list today successfully.
Houston, I've got two safer off on the ETA, and I'm getting the safer off of one now.
Excellent, Butch. We just want to make sure when we transferred comm, you were all set for that. Sounds right. You're ready.
And based off that call from Butch Wilmore, the hatch has been open for quite some time. His first task, removing the safer devices from the EMUs of both Wiseman and Gerst. Safers, again, the simplified aid for EVA rescue. Those were the last items attached to the spacesuits prior to their heading out into the airlock for depress and switching to battery power in the beginning of the EVA. Safer use is kind of the last line of defense should the astronauts become untethered for any reason from the International Space Station. Serves as that safety net to reorient them and get them back to a safe handrail. So with the safers off, the crew moving quickly through the steps. Those will be temporarily stowed in the crew lock. And this is Mission Control Houston, the International Space Station, flying just about 260 statute miles over the southern Pacific. Again, we're just going to continue to stand by for a couple of minutes until we see the crews back inside the airlock. The teams here in Mission Control taking a well-deserved break following the support of that flawless 6-hour, 13-minute EVA. Heard some very touching words from Reid Wiseman and Alexander Gerst, thanking the teams not only here in Houston but around the globe that helped to prepare them for their spaceflight and for this spacewalk today. Teams all across the country did an extensive amount of work following that July spacewalk of last year, where Luca Parmitano experienced water in his helmet. An extensive review by a mishap investigation board into the root causes, both technical and organizational, resulted in a lot of fantastic lessons learned, a lot of safety procedures improved in order to protect the crews even more during EVAs, commonly described as some of the most potentially hazardous activities undertaken by astronauts in this day and age. The crews, again, both the astronaut crews and the teams at NASA and in industry responsible for maintaining these suits, doing a lot of amazing work over the past couple of months to get us to where we are today. This was actually the first normal or nominal EVA since that event with Luca Parmitano. There have been a number of contingency EVAs where the suits were still in good configurations, but determined to be safe. But with this, we've now officially returned to normal EVAs, not tracking any issues with the suits or any of the equipment today. As you heard throughout their glove and hat checks, no issues. Both the crew members reporting to be in good health towards the end of their EVA, and the initial checkouts of all the hardware going well also. The robotics engineers confirming the MTRA operating as planned, and then that new camera light will get a checkout tomorrow. The failed pump module securely in its spot on external stowage platform number 2. Should be reacquiring video communication with the station in just about 5 minutes. So that at that point we'll check in on the crew, see how they're doing, then we'll go ahead and wrap up today's EVA-27 coverage. This is Mission Control Houston. Should be getting that video contact back with the International Space Station in the next minute or so. Should be able to see the crew back inside of the equipment lock.
МКС, ЦУПа Москвы, ВСГ-1, по поводу DPC.
And there we are, video back inside of the Quest airlock. You can see Butch Wilmore helping to get the gloves off first. Still going through the post-depress or post-repress checklist. The safers removed from both suits, back into their stowage positions. So again, the crew back inside the Quest airlock, the gloves coming off first, the helmets coming off very soon after. Butch Wilmore assisting Reid Wiseman and Alexander Gerst, giving the wave to the camera. As you can see, both crew members doing very well following their 6-hour, 13-minute spacewalk, the first for each of these rookie space flyers. With that, it's 182 spacewalks, again, and in support of station maintenance and construction. Total elapsed time now 1,142 hours, 15 minutes spent spacewalking on the International Space Station, a total of about 47.5 days. Again, this was the first of 3 planned EVAs for Expedition 41. The next one coming up will be on Wednesday, where Reid Wiseman will again suit up and head out the door with Butch Wilmore. And there'll be a Russian spacewalk later on in the month on the 22nd. So with that, Wiseman's helmet off, Gerst to come next. It was a very successful day at the end, filled with Medusas, burritos, and Jolly Jumpers, but very successful spacewalk for these two. Another great day on board the International Space Station. Be sure to tune in again tomorrow morning as we return with our regularly scheduled Space Station Live programming, and then one more spacewalk for these U.S. astronauts next week. With that, though, we'll go ahead and wrap up our coverage of U.S. EVA number 27. This is Mission Control Houston.
Hi, I'm Peter Cullen, and you're watching NASA TV.
morning from the Johnson Space Center in Houston. This is Mission Control Houston. A view of the International Space Station flight control room from the back of the room, looking across the consoles of flight controllers as they watch over all of the systems to ensure the health of the International Space Station orbiting complex. The team here in Mission Control throughout much of the day will be led by Flight Director David Korth. He is joined to his right in the white shirt by astronaut David St. Jacques, a Canadian Space Agency astronaut. He is serving as the communications link between this team and the crew aboard the International Space Station that makes up the Expedition 41 crew. That crew of 6 is essentially made up of 3 crew members that have been there a little bit longer than the other 3. The entire crew is commanded by Russian cosmonaut Max Surayev. He is seated just to the left of the logo in this view. Standing behind him is European Space Agency astronaut Alexander Gerst, and also standing is Reid Wiseman. Those two are along with Surayev, are enjoying their 131st day in space today, having launched to the International Space Station back on Wednesday, May 28th. They plan to remain aboard for 165 days, returning home on the evening of Monday, November 9th. They were joined just a short time ago, now 11 days ago, by U.S. astronaut Barry Wilmore, known by many as Butch, along with his Soyuz commander Alexander Samokutyaev and Russian cosmonaut Elena Serova. Those 3 launched back a couple of weeks ago on September 25th, and they plan to stay on the station for about 6 months. They're not scheduled to return home until March of next year. The team here in the control center has been kind of watching over the crew's shoulders throughout its day as the crew focuses much of its preparatory activities on board for the first of several spacewalks that are planned over the course of the next 2 weeks. In fact, tomorrow, the first of that series of spacewalks is scheduled based out of the U.S. airlock Quest aboard the International Space Station. The spacewalk is scheduled to be occurring by Reid Wiseman and Alex Gerst. Both of those 2 astronauts have never done spacewalks before, although they trained extensively before their launch to the station. Their spacewalk being the first for them is actually going to be the 182nd EVA or extravehicular activity that's to be conducted in support of station assembly, maintenance, and resupply activities in terms of hardware movements and repair of equipment on the outside of the station. That spacewalk is planned for tomorrow morning, and the mission management team for the International Space Station program is met today, and that was one of the topics of discussion, to talk the readiness for the spacewalk. And as of this time, all activities are in excellent shape, and the crew on board has been focusing quite a bit of attention on the readiness for that in terms of getting the airlock ready, getting the suits ready, the 2 spacesuits that serve as the crew members' life support and protection while they are outside the complex to conduct their EVA. The EVA is scheduled to start very early in the morning, so we won't have a space station live because we will be covering that spacewalk end to end. You see Alex Gerst in the foreground, and in the distance there in the U.S. laboratory Destiny, U.S. astronaut Butch Wilmore. The crew wakes up each day presently about 1 o'clock in the morning Central Time, and their day extends until they go to sleep officially about 4:30 in the afternoon. In between, of course, the crew members are budgeted a significant amount of time for experiment activities on the station. The payloads team reported during the mission management team today that all of the payloads pretty much are operating as expected and on schedule. The only item of interest is the optical payload for Lasercom Science, or Opal's experiment, was scheduled for today. They've deferred activities associated with Opal's today to troubleshoot a thermal issue associated with the experiment itself. Other than that, the rapid scat experiment that is on the outside of the station now is also operating fine. It initially indicated after installation by the station's robotic arm that it while it was operating okay in terms of technically, the database was showing some errors. Those have since been corrected, and the reports are that the rapid scat instrument is running, doing very well right now. The other science investigations on board, the rodent research facility, the checks on that are that all of the rodents are doing okay, as well as the fish associated with the aquatic facility on board that's in the Japanese experiment module.
Stand by.
Roger.
Okay, go ahead, Dave.
Just to make sure it's the SSC or power cycling, right?
That's affirmative.
All right. So just a couple of things to check. So first, triple check which config file you're using. Is it the U.S. EVA-27 PM NTRA?
That's correct.
All right.
And after that, I selected SSRMS.
All right, that's what you should do. Okay.
You're listening to Butch Wilmore with the ground here, referencing some of the, as he does a electronic tool config associated with the spacewalk tomorrow. And you saw Alexander Samokhutyaev float by. He's the commander of the Soyuz capsule, the spacecraft that was launched to the station and brought Elena Serova, and Wilmore to the station. Preparations, as I mentioned, for the spacewalk are well underway on board, but it's best to let the experts tell you all about the plans for tomorrow's spacewalk. Jacqueline Kagi will serve as the extravehicular activity officer, and she will be overseeing that console here in Mission Control throughout the spacewalk scheduled for Tuesday.
U.S. EVA-27 will start from the Quest airlock. Reid Wiseman, EV-1, wearing a suit with red stripes, will egress first. Alexander Gerst, EV-2, wearing a plain white suit, will hand out bags. And then after completing buddy checks, Alex will head to the starboard cedar cart to temp stow the MTRA bags for later use. Reid will translate to ESP2 to prepare the pump module install worksite. He will temp stow bags and then open the thermal blanket to allow for the pump module installation. Meanwhile, Alex will translate to the port cedar cart to retrieve the APFR, or the Articulating Portable Foot Restraint. which he will translate to the SSRMS installation location on S0P1 interface. EV2 will install the foot restraint on the arm, swap his safety tether, and then ingress for his tasks. At this point, Reid will translate to the MTRA bags that Alex carried out and move them to the MTRA work site to prepare for the task later in the EVA. There are two bags. One contains the MTRA box itself, and the second bag contains the 4 extension cables that they will install. Then EV1 will translate to EV2's safety tether and gather it and relocate it to ESP2. Alex rides the arm, which is flown by Butch Wilmore, to the POA to retrieve the pump module. The POA is a robotically controlled stowage site that we placed the pump module on during last December's EVAs. During the arm maneuver, Alex will rotate the pump module 180 degrees to get it to the correct installation orientation. And please note that the arm maneuver shown here is greatly sped up. Reid will help guide Butch and Alex to install the pump module partially onto ESP2. He will then remove the adjustable grapple bar, or AGB, from the pump module and temp stow it. And the crew will complete the final installation of the pump module, and they will use the PGT to drive the 4 bolts to secure it. At this point, the EV crew work together to stow the AGB on a spare ORU on ESP2. And the AGB is the method that was able to attach the pump module to the POA for that long. Reid then hands Alex his spare light bag. And while the arm flies Alex toward his next task, Reid will clean up the pump module worksite, including closing the thermal cover flap. Alex is flown to camera port 13, which is on the starboard side of the lab. He will first lock the camera pan and tilt unit, and then remove the failed light. EV2 will retrieve the spare light from his MLI bag. Install it with a single bolt and the electrical connector. Alex will then retrieve the handling aid used to install the light, and then he will unlock the pan and tilt unit prior to leaving the worksite. During this time, EV1 returns the pump module bag to the airlock. And proceeds to translate to the MTRA worksite. The MTRA worksite is on the zenith side of the MT. When Reid gets into position, He will remove the dead face connector that has protected the camera port since A-Day. Then he will install the empty array using the PGT. Reid will gather the red-yellow cable set and attach one end to the empty array box, then route and mate the yellow connector, and continue down the port side of the MT to the nadir MT location to mate the red cable. Alex will fly back to ESP2 to clean up the SSRMS, including a safety tether swap, and removal of the APFR. He then releases the SSRMS from support for the rest of the EVA. And he will translate back to the airlock to stow the failed light inside the airlock. Alex then translate to the MTRA work site to join Reid. EV2 will work the starboard side of the MTRA where EV1 worked the port. Alex will gather the blue-green cable and mate the connectors to the empty array. He will route the cables down the starboard side of the MT and install the green connection, and then hand off the blue connection for Reid to complete at his work site. The crew will then translate back to the zenith side of the MT, making sure to secure all their wire ties to keep the cables out of the MT translation path. At this point, they will clean up their bags and return to the airlock. They will ingress the airlock, completing US EVA-27 and the nominal tasks.
And Jacqueline Kagi there talking about the EVA that is scheduled Tuesday by Reid Wiseman and Alex Gerst. Alex Gerst happily posing on a photo from the airlock. This is his Twitter account. He's labeled this photo "Working Under Pressure." The spacesuits are at 4.3 pounds per square inch to be precise. So he's happily ready to go with his EVA. His Twitter account is one that he uses frequently to tell the story of his space flight, along with Reid Wiseman, the two flight engineers aboard the International Space Station, as part of Expedition 41. Outside the station, you're looking at the SpaceX, or Space Exploration Technologies, Dragon spacecraft, the most recently arrived cargo vehicle. The crew has spent some time over the weekend conducting some transfer activities inside that Dragon capsule. You see the Rapid Scat payload operating there in the top left corner of this beautiful view from the International Space Station, looking down at the Earth over the southern Pacific Ocean, a vantage point of 260 miles above the Earth, circling the Earth every 92 minutes. As mentioned, the mission management team met earlier today and essentially went over the health of the overall complex. Over the weekend, there had been some problems over the weekend with late last week and over the weekend with the toilets on board the station, both the Russian and the U.S. toilets. Those have both been fixed and they're working fine. So there's no issue with the operation of the toilets on board. Also, the high-tech treadmill known as T2 was non-operational for the last couple of weeks, and the reports in the mission management team were that the treadmill now is back in full operation aboard the station, and the crew has full use of that as one of their suite of exercise equipment used to help maintain their cardiovascular and musculoskeletal systems throughout their stays on orbit, to help them readapt better to the one gravity environment of Earth once they return home. There's also been some discussion about a possible debris avoidance maneuver, or a piece of debris that may come within a certain area of the station that may require moving the station. That actually is something they're always tracking, and they expect a time of closest approach somewhere around Wednesday morning. Just so happens that on Wednesday, a reboost of the station's altitude was scheduled anyway in the afternoon, the cruise afternoon, that is. So the teams are more than likely just going to move that reboost, which was scheduled in the afternoon, to move it earlier, and that will take care of any issues of any debris that might have been within the area of the station at the time of closest approach Wednesday morning. So by the time we get there, that will be a non-issue. The lead flight director for this increment, Ed Van Cise, talked quite a bit about how busy it's going to be aboard the station for the next couple of weeks, in particular with the suite of spacewalks that are scheduled, two by U.S. astronauts and European astronauts, as well as Russian cosmonauts out of the Russian segment of the station. And next Sunday and Monday there'll be quite a bit of extensive work, research on some of the part of the rodent research experiment, as well as checking on all of the other experiments on the station as well. Also, after the second U.S. EVA, not this week but next week, the crew will get fairly heavy into the final activities associated with the Dragon cargo vehicle, to make sure that it's loaded properly before its scheduled return to Earth and splashdown. And right now that is targeted for October 21st for the unberth and splashdown, re-entry and splashdown activities. Also, our Russian colleagues asked the U.S. colleagues here in Mission Control this late last week and over the weekend to use some of the external cameras, in particular the Canadian-built robot arm, to capture some photos of the Soyuz TMA-14M spacecraft. As you recall, on its approach to the station after launch, one of the pair of solar arrays did not deploy properly. After the Soyuz docked, however, that solar array did deploy, and as you can imagine, the teams on the ground are looking at that to determine what may have caused the solar array not to deploy properly upon reaching orbit. So we've gathered some footage for them. They were very grateful for that. There'll also be some additional still photos that the team will use as well to help in its intelligence gathering to support its investigation of that. The spacecraft is fine now in the solar array. Once it's in the locked position, deployed position, it's never stowed again, so there's no issue with that Soyuz spacecraft whatsoever. Over in the Russian segment of the station, Max Sarayev and Alexander Samakutyaev are reviewing procedures for their own spacewalk that they'll be conducting out of the Pirs docking compartment, which is currently scheduled for October 22nd. That EVA's activities are scheduled to have the crew remove and jettison some obsolete hardware, and also to conduct some comprehensive photographic surveys of the exterior of the Russian segment of the complex, and no doubt incorporating some of the photos of the Soyuz 40S or TMA-14M spacecraft that I mentioned just a minute ago as well. The EVA that is scheduled for tomorrow by Reid Wiseman and Alex Gerst is scheduled right now to begin about 6 o'clock. Our coverage will begin about 6 o'clock in the morning Central Time, and we expect the EVA itself to begin around 7, shortly after 7. Obviously, that is always dependent on the crews getting in their suits and making sure the suits are checked out before they switch them to battery power, which is the signal for the start of the actual EVA or extravehicular activity. They plan to stay out for about 6.5 hours, and as I mentioned a little while ago, this is the 182nd spacewalk in support of station assembly and maintenance, the first for both Wiseman and Gerst. Wiseman actually will be wearing a spacesuit distinguished with red stripes. He'll be serving as EV-1 or extravehicular 1, and Gerst will be serving as EV-2, and he'll be wearing a suit with no stripes at all. They have spent time, as mentioned, preparing the equipment lock in the Quest airlock, and they also are today checking out their safer jetpacks, which are the safety jetpacks that mount on the back of the spacesuits. So all of that leads up to tomorrow's spacewalk, so be sure to tune in early for the end-to-end coverage of that EVA, scheduled for coverage to begin at 6 a.m. Central, 7 a.m. Eastern Time. And we'll be back with Space Station Live again at its regular time on Wednesday, 10 a.m. Central, 11 Eastern. Have a great day. This is Mission Control Houston.
Hi, I'm Jim Cameron, Director of Avatar, and you're watching NASA TV.
Nice. All right. Got the waste starter on the airlock handrail. And I got that. Barely.
So the International Space Station just crossed the Terminator line fully into an orbital daytime. Should provide a pretty spectacular view for these two as they translate to their first work sites.
Alex, as you're moving up towards the front face, just a caution for you, just avoid contact with the TUS reel cable.
Hey, Wheels.
Go ahead, sir.
I see the MMOD strike on it.
0 on the cedar rail. 2-0 on that.
Okay, I'll just translate until I see the arm, which is already nicely positioned, I guess.
Just to try to keep you up with everything, so Wiseman mentioning the RET, it's a retractable equipment tether.
I could possibly go to the nadir handrail, but even that's a little tight. To the nadir part of that handrail, I mean.
Checking, Reid, stand by.
Copy. I don't think I have to.
The WIF standing for Worksite Interface. It's going to assist Gerst in setting up this portable foot restraint onto the station's robotic arm.
Okay, Wheels, I'm going to put a RET on the front flap of this, and then I'll bring the RET around to the back of the shroud. I'll see how that works, if that's all right with you.
Yeah, we're good with that.
So Alexander Gerst has the pump module. He's reorienting it the 180 degrees so it's in the proper configuration for installation once he arrives at the external stowage platform, which is going to be his next stop on the end of this space station robotic arm. Towards the right corner, you can see the empty MLI tent primed and prepped for the arrival of this pump module.
I get a good view in that big MLI tent right now, or about 80% of it, and that looks so good.
So Gerst repositioning his hands on the pump module, getting to the bottom or the nadir, the earth-facing side of it. He's going to need to get on that angle in order to help guide it in.
Very good peek down.
Reid Wiseman getting positioned himself to help call out commands to Wilmore as they get ready to move the pump module in.
And I'm ready for the next step.
Showing 1 meter to go.
Copy. Yes, there's a U.S. lab behind me. That's why I could go no further port. I think I'm ready. I may need to work on body position, but give me the settings. And that was 4 turns, Wheels, and it looks, the bolt's nice and free. I can turn it with my hand, so that looks good.
Okay, nice work.
Copy that. That's the work, Wheels.
Okay, there, complete CX. Now we're going to take you zenith. Here we go.
Everything going by the book, not tracking any issues. Still have to unlock the pan tilt mechanism on the camera itself. Following that, he'll be able to back off on the space station robotic arm.
Clearance behind me to Columbus.
This will be his last task on the robotic arm. So Reid Wiseman in place now over at the mobile transporter, getting ready to install the relay assembly.
We have the bag rat on the dead face.
Perfect, thanks.
And I'm showing about 1.5 meters. Do you agree?
Butch, just remind me, this is flying to top, another GCA, right?
Had a quick view of the Dragon spacecraft there. You can see it in the top left corner here. Right next to it, the robotic arm in its park position. Gerst is going to head back to the airlock and stow the bag with the failed CP-13 camera port 13 light in it.